Esteemed Rosh Chabura, HaRav Yosef Lowinger, Chashiv Rabbanim, HaRav Greenberg, HaRav Goldberger, HaRav Kalatsky, Rav Victor Goldberger, Menal of the Kollel, Rav Adil Ruvain, Crystal, Director of Development of the Kollel, both of whom worked tirelessly for weeks and weeks at end to assure the success of tonight's dinner. And Baruch Hashem, tonight's dinner is a great success. Distinguished board members and all of you who have come here tonight to express your support of the Minneapolis Community Kollel. Bruchim haboyim, welcome. At this time, I want to take the opportunity to welcome two new Rabbanim to the Kollel. Rav Moshe Spiro, originally from Toronto, Canada, and presently from Lakewood, where he serves as a Rosh Chabura with distinction, will be joining the Kollel Mitzvah Shem in the capacity of Rosh Chabura. Rav Moshe David Zephyrin, originally from St. Louis, coming to St. Louis Park, but originally from St. Louis, presently in Cincinnati, in the Cincinnati Kollel, who will join us, Mr. Shem, as our campus and outreach professional. Baruchim haboyim, we are looking forward eagerly. The theme of this year's dinner is recognizing and appreciating the lessons which our parents taught us and how to live a Torah life. I would like to share with you a lesson that one of our great rabbinical figures heard from his father, an even greater rabbinical figure, about how one should live his life as a Jew. Reb Chaim of Volozhin was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Volozhin Yeshiva, which is located today in Belarus. I think it was once in Lithuania, but today it's in Belarus. He is known as the father of the yeshiva movement. And his yeshiva, the Volozhin Yeshiva, was the mothership, was the mother of all future yeshivas. He started yeshiva in the early 1800s, the very early 1800s, with the encouragement of his mentor, the Vilna Gaon, Rabbi Yoel Vilna. His son became the Rosh Yeshiva upon his demise, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Itzel Volozhiner. And Rabbi Itzel tells us that his father would always tell him, when he observed that the son, Rabbi Yitzchak, did not seem to commiserate, feel the pain of other people, he would tell him, and he told him this many times, he writes, that v'kol haya devarai elai tamid, and this is what he constantly would tell me. Reb Chaim Volozhiner would constantly tell his son, she'ezeh kol adam, you want to know what the nature of a human being is? Lo la'atzmo nivra, rak lahoel la'achrini. He was not created for himself, but rather to be there to help and assist other people. Kechol asher yimatzeh b'kocho latzos, as much and whatever he could do for others, he should do. The Ratzon Hashem, the desire of Hashem is that we, each one of us, should inculcate into our conscious and into our subconscious that we are placed here in order to make it easier and assist other people. When the Torah demands of us, v'halachta b'drachav, that we should go in the ways of Hashem, we should emulate Hashem, this is what it means. Just as Hashem creates, He sustains, He provides, He nurtures. That is the way we need to be to emulate, to be getlich, or to be godly, godlike. We need to follow and emulate Hashem. Now, this lesson of the hayil achrini, to be there for other people, is a consistent and constant idea that should permeate our lives. But there's one area where this dictum is most prevalently felt, and that is in the parent-child relationship. It applies perfectly to that relationship. As we reflect back upon our parents, perhaps the one thing that stands out more than anything else is that how much our parents lived for us. it wasn't just that they took care of us and they nurtured us and they fed us and they did sundry and many different things for us, but we were the focus of their lives. They lived for us. And to a large extent, that's why we have so much love for them. They embodied this dictum of Reb Chaim Volozhiner, that we live for other people, and that is truly the parent-child relationship. 2 weeks ago, the Jewish community lost one of the most distinguished Rebbitzins in the country. Rebbitzin Brudny, Rochel Brudny, was 94 years old. Her husband had been one of the Rosh Yeshivas in the Mir Yeshiva in Brooklyn. They both had gone through Europe and came to Shanghai and came to America, where he served as one of the most outstanding Rosh Yeshivas in the country. His shiurim were legendary. He was someone who gave a derech, a way of learning. He was able to teach students, talmidim, how to learn. He passed away almost 40 years ago. But his Rebbitzin just passed away two weeks ago. Incidentally, my brother is a mechutin in that family, and my brother's a mechutin. Anyway, at the funeral, her son, Reb Elia Brudny, who took over his father's position as a Rosh Yeshiva in the Mir Yeshiva, he eulogized his mother, and he said something that really made a great impression on me. He said the following: in the morning brachas, when we daven, a man says a bracha, shlo asani isha. I thank Hashem. The brachas are there to thank and to express gratitude. I thank Hashem He did not make me a woman. What does that mean? Well, from the sequence of the brachas, it's clear that means, this is the way it's explained, is that I have more mitzvahs than a woman. It's first, I have more mitzvahs than a Gentile, more mitzvahs than Evan, and more mitzvahs than a woman. And then the bracha that a woman makes is Sha'asani Kirtzono, which perhaps might be interpreted as saying, and He made me the way I am, and I gotta live with it. But that cannot be what it means, because there would be no bracha for that. There would be no expression of gratitude for that. So said Reb Elia Brudny, that what is the Ratzon Hashem? What is Hashem's will? Hashem's will is that we should be lahoil lachvini, to help others, to be there for others. A woman, by her very nature, is exactly that. She nurtures, she has a propensity for love and giving and caring. So when she makes the bracha, Sha'asani Kirtzono, what she is saying is that Hashem made me consistent with what His desire was for humanity. I express what He wants for humanity. So it comes out that both the husband, the man, and the woman are both giving thanks to Hashem, each one for the advantage that they have over the other. The man is giving thanks to Hashem for the advantage that he has more mitzvahs. The woman is expressing her gratitude to Hashem that she is created in the way that Hashem wanted, kirtzono, consistent with His will. And His will is lahol achrini. And then he went on to talk about how his mother was such a giving and caring and nurturing woman. The parent-child relationship really exemplifies this concept that parents give, maybe more in a woman, but both in the man and the woman, they give to their children, they give freely, they give everything they have, they live for their children. This concept of the whole akrini, that we live for others, can be said as the mission statement of the Kollel. Because as Chazal tell us, it says in Pirkei Avos, Hashlosha Dvarim Olam Omed, the world stands on three pillars: Al Torah, Al Avoda, Al Gemilas Chasadim. On Torah study, Al Avoda, meaning service of Hashem, karbanos or davening, Al Gemilas Chasadim, and doing kind acts. And Chazal tell us that Talmud Torah, learning Torah is the biggest of them. Not only the biggest, it's equal to all. It's beyond what all of them are together. Talmud Torah goes beyond that. And these are the amudim of the world. What does it mean that they're the amudim of the world? They're the pillars of the world. That means the world rests on them. That means that when someone engages in Torah study, he is bringing a flow, a shefa into the world, which elevates the world, which brings bracha into the world, brings blessing into the world, brings goodness into the world, brings happiness into the world. That is what Torah does. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter famously said that when a Jew learns Torah in Vilna, he's preventing a Jew in Paris from doing a sin, from committing a sin. Because the bracha that is involved in learning Torah is not just a personal accomplishment of the person who's learning Torah, but it fills the world and it elevates the world. So in that sense, the Kollel also is lahoyel lachrini. We are here in our mission statement, really, to create a better world. I would like to share with you now two stories that Rabbi Remel Osban, the Rashiva of the Riverdale Yeshiva, mentioned in their annual dinner this year. He spoke to a doctor in Yerushalayim. The name of the doctor is Dr. Shalom Sikernik. And this doctor told them the following story. Number one, he told them, he was talking about his father. His father grew up in Poland, in a place called Chechanovce. Now, I happen to know where that is. I think my Mechutanim, the Shustels, are from there. But that's right near Bialystok. Do we have any Bialystok people in the crowd? I think the Roberts come from Bialystok. So he came from Chechanovce. He was a fervently religious person. But also, he was a genius in music. He was a composer, he was a conductor, he was a musician, and he would write music, perform music, lead symphonies in that part of Poland. When the Nazis entered, the Nazis separated anyone that had a particular talent or a particular skill that they felt was useful for them. And the Nazis loved music. The Germans loved music. So he was spared. And apparently, there were many small camps around Auschwitz where had all these people with their talents and their skills that were of use to the Nazis. But the rest of his family, his father, his mother, his wife, his children, all perished in the Auschwitz crematoria and in the ovens of Auschwitz, in the gas chambers. But he was spared. Now, the Nazis hated Jews, but the Nazis also hated Yiddishkeit. They hated Judaism. And whenever there was an opportunity for them to belittle, to denigrate, to do something against the Jewish religion, they always grabbed that opportunity. And when there was a holiday, they would always try to implement something that would cause more despondency, more despair among the Jews because they were belittling their holidays. Yom Kippur was coming. And the Nazis knew that Yom Kippur is a day of solemnity, a day of holiness. And therefore, they called in Sikernik, composer Sikernik, and they said to him, we want you to compose music special for Yom Kippur. And we're going to have all the Nazi there, and all the Jews will be there. And in this way, they were trying to belittle and denigrate Yom Kippur. Some of his friends approached him and said, why are we doing this? Why should we do this? Why do we want to give enjoyment and pleasure to these murderers, barbarians? Why do we want to do that? Let's just commit suicide and be over with it. He said no. Because there are perhaps 1,000 of us surrounding Auschwitz, those who the Germans separated, who are talented, have skills, and we're different from everybody else, but there's 1,000 of us. And the majority of us are not going to make it through Auschwitz. But there will be some who will make it. And I want that each one of us should be that person who makes it in order to replant and to reestablish Yiddishkeit for the next generation. So we have to go do whatever we have to do in order, if it gives pleasure to the Germans, that's not our concern. We have to try with all our strength and all our courage to make it, to replant and to extend Yiddishkeit, to be the conduit for Yiddishkeit in the next generation. The story ends with that this composer, conductor, his name was Yehuda Ayerleib Sekernik, he had a brilliant plan. He said, I'm going to compose a beautiful piece of music to the words of Kol Nidre. The Jews that are there are going to understand what I'm doing. And they will be inspired by Kol Nidre. And that will lift them up. And they will connect with the words of Kol Nidre to the holiness of the day and do tshuva and connect with Hashem. On the other hand, the Nazis will have no idea what we're doing. And they will listen to the music, which I intend to make beautiful. And they will enjoy it. So he came to the Nazis and he told them, I composed something which is exquisite. You've never heard anything like this before. And come Yom Kippur, they all came, they all gathered together in the camps in Auschwitz. And they performed. The Nazis were mesmerized. The Nazis could not get over it. They were so beautiful. They came back to him, they said, do it again. They came back again. They did it 4 times for the Nazis. But after the Nazis left, there wasn't a dry eye in the camp among the Jews. They all had an uplifting Yom Kippur. So now that we know a little bit about Yehuda Ayerleib Sekernik, let me tell you another story. The Nazis, every night, would party. After the horrors perpetrated during the daytime, they would enter a ballroom where they were wined and dined. Their uniforms were crisp and clean. Their boots were polished. They were immaculately groomed. The ballroom was exquisite. The chandeliers were outstanding. The dinnerware was unbelievable. But they also needed dinner music. And Yehuda Ayerleib Sekernik was the one who was supposed to provide the dinner music. And he did. And after his performance, they came to Yehuda Ayerleib Sekernik, and they tied his hands behind his back. And they sat him down on a chair. And they pulled out a garbage can, excuse me, must be the mic. They pulled out a garbage can, and in that garbage can they put food. And they made him bend over like an animal without the use of his hand to grab food with his mouth from the garbage can. And as he bent down, they kicked him with their boots. And this was repeated day after day. Eventually, he was liberated from the camp. He made his way to Eretz Yisrael, remarried, established a family. And he was fervently connected to his Yiddishkeit. The Nazis could not take that away from him. But his son, Shalom, later to become Dr. Shalom, the one who's telling over the story, he wavered in his Yiddishkeit. And he was on the proverbial fence, and I think he was on the other side of the proverbial fence. And he was not going in the way of his father. So one day, the father, Yehuda Ayerleib Sekernik, sat down his son, Shalom, and said to him, I want to talk to you. You often ask me how I had the courage, how I had the strength to be able to withstand the horrors of Auschwitz. that my parents were killed, my wife was killed, murdered, my children were murdered, I was treated brutally. How did I manage to come out of that Gehenna? The answer to that is because I looked forward to the day when I could create a new family. And this new family would embrace Yiddishkeit. And I would give over the Yiddishkeit that's in my heart to them. And they would celebrate that Yiddishkeit. That's what kept me going. So Shalom Sukenik said, when I heard that, I had no choice but to return to Yiddishkeit and to embrace Yiddishkeit for my entire life. I'm going to live like a Jew and die like a Jew. This Dr. Shalom Sukenik is the one who founded the Arachim movement in Eretz Yisrael. The Arachim movement is an outreach movement where through many different mediums and many different for classes and all types of symposiums and getaways and all sorts of things, have had the good fortune to reach out to unaffiliated Jews, alienated Jews, and to bring thousands back, all because he understood that his father had lived only for him, so that his Yiddishkeit should be intact. In conclusion, the historic Jewish experience has been a long, hard road. I hope I can get through this. Our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents, all the way back, lived and sometimes died for us. Yiddishkeit meant so much to them. It should mean so much to us as well. Thank you for listening.